From the moment humans first traded shells and stones on ancient shores, money has quietly shaped the rise and fall of civilizations, building empires not with swords alone, but with negotiation, trust, and the power to control value itself. This is the untold journey of how money, in all its evolving forms, constructed the first global empires, guided kings and conquerors, and influenced every major shift in world history. Our story begins more than 5,000 years ago, in dusty markets where early humans bartered grain for tools, skins for salt, and livestock for weapons. But barter soon failed under the pressure of growing populations, and societies needed a universal symbol of value. That symbol became money, first as clay tablets in Mesopotamia, where priests recorded debts that formed the earliest banks. These tablets were worth more than gold to the early empires because they gave birth to something revolutionary: the idea that value could exist without physical goods. The world's earliest creditors and borrowers emerged, and so did the first economic elite. In the temples and palaces of Sumer, Babylon, and Assyria, money fueled irrigation systems, armies, and monumental architecture. Through credits and debt, ancient rulers controlled entire populations not by force alone, but by financial dependency. Money had become the bloodstream of empire.
Then, around 600 BCE, the Lydians of Anatolia struck the world's first standardized coins, transforming economies across Asia, Africa, and Europe. A stamped coin meant trust, and trust meant expansion. Kings could now tax, soldiers could be paid, and trade could travel safely across long distances. This simple invention became the backbone of the Persian Empire, whose gold derricks funded the construction of the Royal Road, a 2,700-kilometer artery connecting markets, cities, and cultures under one economic umbrella. When Persia fell, Alexander the Great seized not only land but treasuries, minting his own coins to unify territories from Greece to India. Money became propaganda. Every coin carrying the king's face was a reminder of who controlled value, trade, and fate. In Egypt, coinage energized the Nile economy. In India, it helped establish vast trade networks of spices, fabrics, and precious stones. And in China, the Zhou dynasty introduced paper promissory notes that birthed the earliest paper money, centuries ahead of the rest of the world. As the Silk Road formed, money became the world's first internet, a channel connecting ideas, goods, beliefs, and political ambitions. Every caravan, every merchant, every deal was a political act. Empires were no longer built by military force alone. They were financed. The Roman Empire elevated this system to an art. With silver denarii and golden aurae circulating across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, Rome created the largest unified economy the ancient world had ever seen. Roads, aqueducts, and entire cities were built on taxes, and Rome's legions, the strongest military force of its time, marched on coin-funded logistics. Money didn't just build Rome, it maintained it. Even as emperors rose and fell, the Roman currency system became the glue of civilization. But money also helped destroy Rome. As the empire expanded, the need for silver outpaced supply. Emperors diluted the currency to pay debts and armies, triggering inflation, economic collapse, and eventually political fragmentation. And so, money both built and broke the ancient world's mightiest empire. Centuries later in the Middle Ages, a quiet revolution transformed global finance again. In the merchant cities of Venice and Florence, banking families, most famously the Medici, created modern finance, bills of exchange, credit systems, double-entry bookkeeping, and international lending. Their influence reached popes, kings, and generals. Europe's empires grew not from crowns or castles, but from financial leverage. Trade flourished across the Mediterranean, fueled by loans, insurance, and currencies trusted from Cairo to London. Money made navigation possible, funded explorers, and opened the world's oceans. When Portugal and Spain sought domination beyond Europe, it wasn't national pride that drove their voyages. It was financial opportunity. Gold, spices, slaves, and exotic goods promised massive returns. When Christopher Columbus sailed west in 1492, He wasn't funded by the Spanish people, but by investors hoping for unimaginable profit. The age of exploration was, at its core, an age of economic expansion. As Europe stretched its influence across Africa, Asia, and the Americas, money shaped the cruelest chapters of human empire. The transatlantic slave trade became the world's most horrific economic system, built on profit, exploitation, and global demand for labor-intensive crops like sugar and cotton. Empires rose on the backs of enslaved people, and banks, insurers, and governments grew rich from a system that treated humans as capital. The wealth extracted from colonies built European cities, funded industrial revolutions, and fueled imperial competition for centuries. In Asia, the Ming and Qing dynasties expanded the Silk Road economy, flooding global markets with silk, porcelain, and tea. China's demand for silver reshaped world trade. Entire European economies adjusted their monetary systems just to pay for Chinese goods. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire, sitting at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, taxed global trade routes and became one of the wealthiest networks of the early modern world. In India, the Mughal Empire created vast wealth through textiles, architecture, and agriculture, becoming a global economic powerhouse that European companies envied. But it was the rise of corporations, especially the British East India Company, that introduced a new kind of empire, one run not by kings, but by profit-driven organizations with private armies. Money built corporate empires that rivaled nations. The East India Company conquered territory, collected taxes, controlled populations, and monopolized global trade. It was the world's first multinational corporation, backed by shareholders and financial markets in London. Capitalism had taken its first global form. The Industrial Revolution exploded these systems further. Factories multiplied wealth, railways opened new continents, and banking families like the Rothschilds created international finance networks capable of influencing wars, treaties, and entire governments. Money drove innovation: steam engines, telegraphs, electricity, steel, and mass production, reshaping the planet. Economies were no longer regional, they were international. Empires competed, tensions rose, and financial interests became deeply tied to geopolitics. By the early 20th century, money shaped global conflict. World War I and II were fought not only on battlefields, but in banks, factories, and resource pipelines. Nations financed war through bonds, debt, and industrial production. The collapse of the gold standard, the Great Depression, and the rise of central banks changed monetary power forever. After World War II, the Bretton Woods system established the US dollar as the center of global finance, making America the world's financial empire. As globalization accelerated, multinational corporations gained power comparable to governments. Trade agreements, global supply chains, and digital finance transformed the world economy once more. Today, money is no longer metal, paper, or even national. It is digital, decentralized, algorithmic, and borderless. Cryptocurrencies challenge the old monetary order. Central banks experiment with digital currencies. Tech companies influence global markets. Wealth inequality shapes politics. Debt structures control nations. And financial systems can collapse with a click. Yet despite its evolution, the essence remains. Money still builds empires, corporations, nations, ideologies, and futures. Every major power in history rose on financial systems, and every collapse followed economic instability. Money has been both the architect and the destroyer of worlds. And now, as the global economy enters an age of automation, artificial intelligence, and digital assets, we stand on the edge of the next monetary empire. One not defined by land or armies, but by data, technology, and the ability to control digital value. From shells to blockchains, from clay tablets to trillion-dollar markets, the story remains the same. Whoever controls money controls power. And whoever controls power shapes the next era of human civilization. This is how money built the first global empires, and how it continues to build the empires of tomorrow.